This is a production of PBS Charlotte.
This week on Off the Record, talk of Roe v. Wade, 2 weeks away from our primary elections. Does it make you want to vote more or maybe affect who you vote for? Council members looking at a new Charlotte budget. If you work for the city, you'll make more. If you park in the city, well, you'll pay more. And what about our parks? Are they really that bad compared to other cities? Also, just when you thought South End couldn't get any busier or any bigger, how about the biggest land deal in South End ever? Plus, CMS scanning for guns. This week they found one. And no rules for short-term rentals in Charlotte, at least not yet. Lots to talk about next on PBS Charlotte. And from our PBS Charlotte studios in historic Plaza Midwood, I'm Jeff Sonnier, and we're off the record talking about the stories that you've been talking about this week. And if you watch the news, read the news, and listen to the news, well, you'll recognize the names and faces around our virtual table. John Paul from WSOC-TV, Will Wright from the Charlotte Observer, and Tony Messia from the Charlotte Ledger. Thanks for joining us this weekend. And also, thank you for joining us at home. If you want to join the conversation, just email your questions and comments to offtherecord at WTVI.org. Well, the conversation this week, a lot of the conversation this week was aimed at Roe v. Wade, a decision that hasn't been made yet by the Supreme Court, but the leak of a possible decision on the part of the justices had just about everybody talking. And here in North Carolina, a lot of the discussion was about how that information will change the elections that are just 2 weeks away, and maybe the elections here in November as well. Will, let me start with you, since you cover politics, and I know you reached out and were, kind of gauging, the temperature out there. What does this do to our, I guess, first of all, our primary elections? Does it change anything just 2 weeks away from that vote?
You may see higher turnout in the primary election from Democrats. I don't know of races where you will see a big shift in the outcome. Mm-hmm. There's a race between Erica Smith and Dawn Davis that could be impacted. But for most people are going to be looking at the U.S. Senate race as the kind of the big ticket item on the ballot. And on the Democratic side, Sherry Beasley is very likely to get the nomination. On the Republican side, I don't see this being a big play. Where it could have impact as the general election is, are Democrats going to be fired up about this enough to get out and vote? And a big issue will be turnout in November. So if they get, if the Democrats can energize their base with this, get out and vote, it could have an impact there. I also heard from conservatives that, they'll be looking to energize their base as well, because this will be the first time, possibly, that state legislatures will have control over whether people can have access to abortion. They'll have more control over that than they have in half a century. Yeah. So, they've been fighting for this for a long time. Conservatives could be energized as well.
Yeah, it would seem like it would motivate voters on both sides of the political fence. In particular, as you said, those state house and state senate elections, a lot of times those are down ballot races that don't get a whole lot of attention. But when the Republicans are within 2 seats in the Senate and 3 seats in the House of having a veto-proof majority, this is a big deal when we're talking about issue like abortion and abortion restrictions, I suppose, an issue that really wasn't on the in the conversation, I should say, just a couple of days ago.
Yeah, Jeff, right. I think it's going to be really interesting to see, how the General Assembly, how leaders in the General Assembly respond. I mean, the last few years since HB2, they've sort of taken, they've put a lot of these social issues kind of on the back burner. They haven't been drawn into some of these issues on LGBT rights or critical race theory like you've seen in a lot of other southern states. But, it's going to be interesting to see, whether the Republican leaders of the Senate and House feel like they need to do something to kind of deliver for their base. Of course, as you mentioned, they have majorities, but not veto-proof majorities at the moment. You've got a Democratic governor, so it's hard to see anything happening on party lines, at least in this current General Assembly, current legislative session. But obviously, all eyes on what happens in November.
Yeah, it really shines a bright light on races that, again, don't get as much attention when you've got a U.S. Senate race and House races in Washington at the same time. John?
Yeah, I think this is going to be it's going to be a motivating factor for the general. And this is, like you said, on both sides. This is a deeply personal issue for so many people, and it motivates so many people. A lot of people are single issue voters, and this is one that goes to the top of the list. And now that this is in play, I think the general is going to be really interesting with these midterm elections that are on the horizon. And I wonder if we're going to see a lot of changing in the way people campaign over the next several months. This is going to be one of those issues that they're going to start really hammering away at. So it's going to be an interesting midterm, that is for sure.
Yeah, it changes the dynamic of a lot of races. This was not an issue that was probably going to be debated in a large way in most of these races, but now it has gone to the forefront. And especially with the timing of when the Supreme Court will make their decision, when what we saw leaked this week might become official, it's going to come right smack in the middle of that general election season. And again, candidates who maybe didn't really factor in abortion and abortion rights to their platform and their campaigns are now, obviously that's going to be front and center in a lot of campaigns. It does kind of change the dynamic, and I don't know if it changes the outcome, but with higher turnout and different issues now on the in front of everybody, and that's what everyone wants to talk about. It makes you wonder just if it will change and motivate folks to vote differently. Hey, let me ask you a quick question. We've heard in the past about early voting and things like the October surprise. When you vote early, you don't get a chance to factor in things that happen at the last minute of a campaign. It's not as big of an issue in a primary race, but that's kind of what we're seeing this time too, right? We started voting. Thousands of people have already cast their ballots in the primaries already before this leak occurred. So I guess it kind of raises that issue again. Early voting is a good thing if you are pushing turnout, but it doesn't always give the voters a chance to fully digest everything that happens in a campaign before they cast their vote, right? Anybody?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I think that there are going to be those last minute announcements, and in Mecklenburg County, early voting turnout is lower than it has been in past years. So I'm curious to see how that will play out. And part of that, I think, is just that there aren't that many as far as the big ticket items, competitive races. We're going to see, I think, a lot of interesting results locally is going to be with those city council, county commission, sheriff, district attorney, and those races down ballot. I wonder how many people are going to be really paying attention to those as we move forward here.
Yeah. By the way, just as we exit this subject, Meredith College poll that came out just before the leak shows 52 to 40% in favor of keeping Roe v. Wade provisions over tougher restrictions. But again, that was before the leak. And again, that breaks down pretty much along party lines. More than 70% of Republicans favor tougher restrictions. More than 70% of Democrats favor keeping the Roe v. Wade provisions as they are today. Something we'll be talking about a lot over the next couple of months, and I guess this is just the first of many conversations. Hey, let's talk about the city budget. Speaking of things that'll be on our agenda for the next couple of weeks. Presented by Marcus Jones this week, the county manager, city manager, $3.2 billion budget. Not a lot of surprises in the budget, but good news in general for, I guess, city employees who have been looking for more livable wages, in particular the hourly employees, right?
Right. Yeah, they're talking $20 an hour minimum starting wage for those city workers. So they'll be getting a boost. So hourly, looking at about an 8% raise. The salaried workers looking at about a 4% raise, because they have been talking about trying to bring these wages up. And we have seen in the city council meetings in past months, I believe it was sanitation workers, they made a presentation. They're fighting for more money. And this is what we're seeing across all the sectors, really. So it looks like the city is hearing that, and they're also offering some other incentives as well. I know for sanitation workers specifically, they're offering, I believe it was $1,000 or $1,500 sign-on bonus. They're really trying to get these workers and then to retain the workers, because it's becoming more and more competitive for those workers right now.
Yeah, I mean, a few other headlines from that budget this week. It always does. It seems like in election years they find a way not to recommend property tax increases, and that's one of the other headlines I think coming out of the budget. You do have some increases in utilities, and then one of the other things that's gotten some attention is increase in parking rates, street parking, going from $1 to $1.50 an hour in Uptown and South End, and extending that to Saturdays. So a lot of things in this budget. Some people like some of them and some people won't, I suppose.
Yeah, the parking fees are interesting. It's funny how what gets focused on in a city budget. For years, it was always property taxes or that sort of thing. And this year, we've heard a lot about wages going into the budget from city employees. But a lot of the headlines were about that. Those parking meter fees and all that. Is that it's not a real significant revenue builder, is it, Will? As far as or in general, the city's not going to get a lot of money out of this. Why are they doing this?
I think they said they estimated they'll get $700,000 annually from this. They said they were doing it because they're getting less. Basically, they're getting less money from the state to do repairs and improvements on road projects, and I think this will help make up the difference. That was their reasoning.
Yeah, but it's also getting the kind of publicity, negative publicity, that I'm certain a lot of city council members don't want in an election year, as you mentioned. I mean, it seems like a nickel and dime issue that's going to be worth a lot more when it comes to people casting ballots.
Yeah, I think it's also a little bit maybe of a philosophical issue. There's been a real focus by city leaders on transit, improving transit, and the parking. Is one of these issues that comes up in a number of different contexts. How much parking do we want to provide? How much do we want to be encouraging people to drive and park as opposed to use transit? Obviously, a lot more people, get to work and visit South End and Uptown in cars than they do on transit. But there might be a philosophical element there. As the city's also looking at, as part of their development ordinance, changing what are some of the regulations on parking that you need if you're a private business or an apartment complex.
Yeah,
it's also interesting to me that this is the first time they've raised those rates since like 1997. So
yeah,
you have to keep that in context.
And that's the good news. The bad news, though, is you're taking away something that's free. You're taking away that free parking on the weekend, at least on Saturday. And again, I hear what you're saying, Tony. You're trying to encourage people to use transit and that sort of thing, but you're also trying to encourage people to come uptown and take advantage of the amenities there. And at the same time, you're going to start charging for something that they've literally never charged for before, weekend parking. And so that is, again, I don't know how memorable that is when you go to the ballot or go into.
I think you're right. I mean, it's going to aggravate people, but it doesn't seem like Uptown and South End have any problems attracting people on the weekend. So I think people will probably hold their noses and pay it, I would guess. Yeah. And it's actually probably a lot cheaper than some of those parking decks in Uptown.
That's a good point. Yeah, I saw one.
Those are $25 a day. I mean, during the weekdays, expensive.
I saw one quote that says, right now you can park your car at 5 o'clock on Friday and leave it there all weekend for free. But who does that? I mean, I don't know who does. Again, it'll be interesting to see how this plays, come November and what the city budget proposal turns into when the actual budget is adopted. By the way, when we talked about pay raises, 8% increase for hourly employees in the city. That's significant. And again, it sounds like at least the city manager was listening when those groups of protesters, those hourly workers, were coming to city council meetings and asking for more money. It's obviously a response to that, I guess, right?
I mean, it's also market realities. We've talked before, Jeff, about the labor shortages, not just with the city or government, but just across private industry. I mean, they're having a hard time getting workers. You're seeing a lot of private companies also raising the minimum amounts that they pay. The banks, Atrium, they've all increased their minimum pay just because it's very competitive to try to get workers. And, the city's seen some of that too.
Welcome to the new normal.
By the city's own numbers, a lot of its workers can't afford to live in Charlotte. I mean, can't afford to buy a house, or if they're single, even have an apartment. So I'll be curious to see whether, what the workers say during the public hearing about whether this is enough. I know it's not what they asked for exactly. So I think we'll all be watching and wondering, whether there's any negotiating power or they can convince some council members to push for more.
Yeah. Hey, Tony, you mentioned South End a moment ago, not having any problem attracting people on the weekends, parking fees or no parking fees. But the Ledger did a story this week about a huge new land sale that's going to be happening very soon in South End. Can you kind of bring us up to date on what property we're talking about and how this impacts what's already in South End and what we'll see in the future in South End?
Sure. I mean, it's no secret that South End is really a booming area of town. Most people in Charlotte maybe don't realize that it's considered one of the hottest neighborhoods, not just in North Carolina, but in the entire country. I mean, you have developers from all over the country looking at South End, building in South End, acquiring land in South End. Our story in the Charlotte Ledger reported that there's now a business park called the South End Business Park. It's 46 acres. It's off of Clanton Road between I-77 and South Tryon Street. It's not exactly in South End. It's actually closer to what's become known as LoSo, but it's up for sale. Real estate firm JLL is putting these 46 acres up for sale. And that's a huge, huge piece of land for something in such a prime spot. And so, this company bought it about 10 years ago for $10 million. Brokers tell me that it's probably worth $150 million now. It could be probably a mixed use development, maybe as many as 1,500 apartments, over 1 million square feet of commercial space. The scale of it is just enormous. So it's, no surprise, South End and the LoSo area have been growing like gangbusters, a lot of land deals, a lot of expensive land deals. And this is just, another one, a really big one that's going to be coming down the pike in the next few months or years.
Yeah, your story said 46 acres is roughly the size of South Park, if you can kind of have some perspective there.
Right, South Park Mall, right. Yeah, I mean, that's a big area to be developed all at once. Yeah,
South End is already so busy, so dense, or, so intense, the development there. It makes you wonder how much is, again, if you're not growing, you're dying. That's what a lot of developers will say, but how much is too much in South End? I mean, a lot of folks think we're kind of at or near the tipping point now when it comes to whether the infrastructure of South End can keep up with the growth there, with traffic, with all the other things that are happening.
Yeah, with water distribution too. You had some of that problem this week. But the market is there. Developers tell me they think the market is there. We've talked a lot about the need for more housing, not just affordable housing, but also, they're building a lot of luxury apartments. There's still a shortage of housing of all kinds. And so developers are reacting to that. And so you're just seeing this effect where, you have people who are moving here for jobs, you have offices that are opening up, and young people especially want to be in the cool part of town. You got retail. It's just really a nexus of a bunch of different things. And I don't see it slowing down. Even if we hit a recession, it might slow a little bit, but there's still going to be a bunch more building coming in South End. But yes, that does mean more traffic and more trouble with infrastructure.
Yeah. And just quickly, tell me exactly where this property is for folks who aren't familiar with this business park.
Sure. It's right off of I-77. It's between I-77 and South Tryon off Clanton Road, north of Clanton Road. So, it's a little farther it's sort of south of South End, a little bit north of what's considered LoSo, Old Mecklenburg Brewery area, Scaly Bar Light Rail Station. It's kind of in there. So it's a little bit off the beaten path. Not too much, but certainly within 10 years, it's probably going to be considered right in the heart of things, I would imagine.
Yeah, like I said, it's too big of a piece of property, and again, you don't often get something of that size in an area like that suddenly becomes available as it has. So that's going to be I'm not sure. I'm afraid of what South End will look like, but it's certainly going to take what's already just a massive redevelopment for folks who have been in Charlotte over the years to see South End today versus that area, 10, 15 years ago, and wonder what the next 10 years are going to look like. This is going to be a big part of what that next 10 years is like. I want to talk about a story that, it was focused on as Charlotte parks, but we're really talking about Mecklenburg parks, a national ranking that looks at cities all across the country and how their parks measure up to, other cities' parks. In North Carolina, Raleigh was number 50. Greensboro was number 76, Winston-Salem was number 80, Durham was number 82, and Charlotte-Mecklenburg was number 83 out of 100 cities in terms of where this particular survey measured, the quality of parks, the size of parks, the accessibility of parks. Any thoughts on, what this message is for the city and the county when it comes to park land and accessibility to parks? Anyone want to weigh in on that?
Well, I think it kind of ties in to what we were just talking about with the development, because a lot of people are saying, hey, why don't we use some of this land for more parks? There's also been, in the Matthews area, I know they've been talking about pocket parks, and that's also another popular idea, where these small little parks, so there's more accessibility to them. But, I think that does tie into the whole development aspect. We're just a growing county, and there's limited space, and developers are buying that up. Parks looks like they're kind of taking the back seat.
Yeah, I think, Jeff, also a lot of it is historical. That it's hard to solve these problems overnight, even if you increase your budget for parks. But that's just sort of the way Charlotte has developed. And in this latest survey, really, Charlotte, Mecklenburg County really got dinged because if you look at the percentage of people who live close to a park, it's lower than in other cities. I mean, you do see we have some big parks, Freedom Park, you got Romeo Bearden uptown, you've got, all kinds of parks. We're building out greenways like crazy. But in some of these older neighborhoods that haven't developed with parks, where all the land's privately owned, it can be tough to sort of retrofit that. So the good news, I think, on this survey is, even though we're 83rd or whatever it is, it's still better than it was last year. I think we're somewhere in the 90s.
Yeah, we were 91st last year, 95th the year before. And it did say that we got actually high marks for the size of our parks. So it's not the size that's the problem here. It's the accessibility. They measure accessibility as folks within a 10-minute walk to a park. And that's where Charlotte, as you mentioned, really got dinged. And, we're a different place than cities like Washington or New York or Boston that scored really well in this survey, that have a tradition of parks within walking distance and inner city parks and that sort of thing. So it's I guess we're moving in the right direction. We're just not moving very quickly in relation to other cities and where we stand. But I guess it gives you something to shoot for, right? If you're the folks at Mecklenburg County Parks. A couple of other stories that were in the news this week. CMS and scanners. Every high school is getting these body scanners now, and I guess they're doing what they're supposed to do, but that's not necessarily a good thing if you're a parent or if you're a student. John, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, Philip O'Berry on Monday. This is a really interesting story here, because they just rolled out this body scanner. So they put it in, I believe, on last Friday. On Monday, they caught an 18-year-old with a gun coming through into the scan. He walked right through the scanners, set it off. They checked his bag. They found this gun. On top of that, this was what's known as a ghost gun. So the kid purchased a kit. It's a polymer kit. It's a build, and he put all the parts together, and you have a working firearm.
Wow.
He brought it through the scanners. They caught him, and they're saying, hey, this is why we got these body scanners. Timing-wise, really couldn't be better. I mean, the second day these things were in operation, they already caught a gun. But then that makes you wonder how many guns were getting into these schools before these body scanners were put into place. And they've been rolling these out over the last several weeks. So not all the schools have these things up and running yet, but they're already pointing to this as, it's hard to say a success story, because it's still, at the end of the day, a kid bringing a gun into school, but at least he didn't make it into the classroom with this firearm. So, yeah, they caught it over at Philip O'Berry on Monday.
Yeah, and the story you describe, it almost sounds, in the old days, you hear a story about a kit gun made out of polymer. That sounds like something out of a movie script. But these are 18-year-old kids in high school. I mean, that's the frightening thing to me. It's not just that the guns are getting in, but look what they're sneaking in and the kinds of guns. That's a frightening prospect, I suppose.
Right, yeah, and CMPD did a news conference, I believe it was last week, and they were talking about these kids on bikes going through uptown and on scooters, and they said one of them actually pulled a gun on somebody else, and it was one of those polymer ghost guns. These are how the kids are getting them, because they're under 21. You can't even have a handgun under 21. So they're buying these kits, putting them together. There's videos on YouTube, and then they can have a functioning firearm.
Yeah, it's again hard to consider it a success story when you're finding a gun. And this year in the CMS schools, we've got 29 guns now that have been found since the beginning of the school year. The old record was 22. These scanners will do a better job, obviously, of finding those guns. But the fact that we need the scanners, I guess, is the saddest part of this story. And again, it's not just the guns themselves, but the kinds of guns. That's frightening to all parents, I suppose. At City Council this week, Council was supposed to talk about short-term rental rules, Airbnbs, but they never actually got there, did they?
No, they didn't. There was they've been talking about regulating short-term rentals with a couple of ways. One is having that, and when we say short-term rentals, we mean things like Airbnb, VRBO, people who rent out their house for a weekend to somebody or a night. They've been wanting to regulate this because they're getting complaints from neighbors about, noise complaints and people coming and going and things of that nature, people having parties. And so they wanted to help space out these rentals more. So you have 400 feet between each rental. So you couldn't have, 3 right in a row on a single block. It's unclear what they would do for people who already rent out their homes, whether they would be kind of grandfathered in. But regardless, there was a court case out of Wilmington that said that when Wilmington tried to regulate these rentals, they violated a state statute. This didn't totally close the door. Charlotte can still regulate short-term rentals. So we'll see what happens. They said that they were expecting the state to do something. It's unclear, I think, at this point, what they're expecting the state to do and when. So, it seems like things have just sort of stalled out, and I guess we're waiting to see what happens.
Yeah, I read that the General Assembly is looking at a statewide set of rules that would cover all cities, Charlotte, Wilmington, everybody involved. But for now, I guess, a party house sounds like a lot of fun unless you live next door to the party house, and then maybe not so much fun. But it does sound like an issue that is going to be addressed, if not locally, then on a statewide basis. But, an interesting one nonetheless. And again, it's that whole idea of economic opportunity for the folks renting versus neighborhood quality and quality of life in Charlotte neighborhoods. Hey, we're out of time, but I do appreciate everyone joining the conversation this week, and good discussion on a lot of different topics this week. I hope you enjoyed it at home as well. If you have any comments or questions about what we talked about this week or what we should talk about in the future, send your comments to Off the Record at WTVI.org. And thank you for joining us this week. We'll see you next time right here on Off the Record.
A production of PBS Charlotte.